Welcome to Village Heights. We are in week 2 of our collection Grit, and if you've been here for quite a few years, you recognize it. So it's not deja vu, this is real, and it's one of my favorite collections, my favorite teachings to do, because I think it best defines Village Heights and our character and our personality and who we are. And so we're reviewing the story of Nehemiah, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you apply it, I guarantee it will change your life. It will change you like it's changed me and changed a lot of people at Village Heights. So grit, if you've never, surely you've heard the term grit, but if you don't know how it's defined, grit is courage and resolve, a strength of character. I believe you find your grit when you find your heart. Whatever makes your heart pump and beat, that's where your grit is. So I'm going to start by guessing that some of you, I bet there's something that bothers you. I mean, it's 2026. Something bothers everybody, right? And whether you're posting it all over social media or not, something bothers you. It might be social media. I don't know. It might be just the fact that people are saying their problems and what bothers them on social media. I don't know. But something bothers you. Something weighs on you. On not just for you, but on somebody else's behalf. Probably an injustice or a need or somebody that is hurting. Someone that's been abused or neglected or is carrying a burden. Something that just disturbs you, upsets you, that makes your blood boil. You ever been in that situation where you're just like, man, I'm sitting still and I can feel my heart rate and my blood pressure go up because, man, this just bothers me, whatever it may be. And some things are out of your control. Some things you can't control, like what's happening over in the oil situation. You can't do anything about that. Unless you got a boat, you can go over there and help. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. But there's some things that are out of your control that you just got to let other people deal with that. But there's a good chance that there's something that bothers you that is within your control. You might not be able to fix it, whatever the big problem is, but you can help relieve some pressure locally in your life, in your family's life, at your company, at your job, or at just locally in your neighborhood, whatever it may be. There's something out there. And the burden you bear often reveals the calling you'll embrace. You say, I just can't stand it anymore. And you decide, I'm going to do something about it. Also a common instance among people, you rarely know when you're in the front of something really special. There's people that I could talk about, bring up, probably some people in your life that you could think about, like, man, they are really tackling this problem. They're doing a great job at it. There was a point where they thought, am I the one? Could I actually do something about this? Just where you are, where you're thinking about an issue that's around you and you're like, but surely there's someone that's better and someone that's more qualified. But they said yes. And so now you know them because they're addressing it and they're doing a good job at it. Somebody had to do something. When we started Village Heights, we didn't have, we'd been helping. I knew how to plant churches. I knew how to preach. I knew about ministry. I knew all about that. But I didn't know exactly what kind of church this neighborhood needed. Sure. And so when we started Village Heights, it was really with an open hand going, Lord, there's already a lot of churches here. Do you really need another one? And I felt God tell me in that time, in that prayer, that He says, well, has everybody heard about Jesus and had the opportunity to follow? And I said, well, no. And He says, well, it sounds like we need another church. But we don't need another church that looks like every other church, though. Because I'm just not going to go emulate. Because if I go emulate and just do exactly what some other church is, all I'm really going to end up doing is just stealing people from that church because it's newer and nicer and they don't have a problem with those pastors, right? And you see what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what happens. That's what we see in church planting, which I don't think is really church planting, but that's another topic that I'm not going to get in the weeds on, but I really could. So we started Village Heights and we're like, God, what do you want us to do? And in the first year, we decided we're going to go big or go home, right? And so we kind of launched this thing called action groups. And action groups, right now it's a hit where you hear us say action groups, it rolls off the tongue, but there was a time that it was like action groups, like it almost didn't work together. it's like, are we going to do this? You know, and I'm even not sure if it was my idea or Hannah's idea or anybody. Somebody just said, let's do something. And we decided we're going to do, like, we'll find out what it is in the city that we need to address, and we're going to help address it. We had no idea, but we saw needs and opportunities to help. And so we said, we're going to give it a shot. It's exactly a lot of where you are right now. You're like, I don't know how to do it, but I know there's an opportunity because there's a need. And I'm going to jump in. I don't know what exactly it's going to look like. And so you're considering serving, or you're praying about an idea that you have, or you're thinking about or starting or joining something. Some of you have no idea, again, that you're on the front end of something really special. And so today we're going to talk about how to get at it. Make it real simple for you. How do you get at it, whatever it is? All right, small recap from last Sunday. 587 BC, King Nebulizer, actually Nebuchadnezzar, I like to call him Nebulizer, King Nebi. And the Babylonians attacked Jerusalem, destroyed the city. They destroyed their temple. And as a religious people, the temple was the center of everything in their life. And so if you want to take down something, like so if it was a government, you'd take down their capital, right? For them, it was their temple. That was their capital. So they destroyed their temple. The Babylonians, they took captive a lot of the Jewish people. Decades later, they let some of the Jews release. They released a lot of them. And they went back to their homeland to hopefully rebuild with no economic system, no leadership structure, no hope because of that. And they were kind of doomed for failure. When you don't have a setup, when you don't have a support system, and you have no leadership and no way to protect, you're kind of doomed to fail. 140 years after the destruction, an ordinary guy named Nehemiah, who had a broken heart for his people in his hometown, his city. He wasn't a pastor, he wasn't a priest, he wasn't a warrior, he wasn't a contractor, he was not verified on Insta. He was simply the cupbearer for the king of Persia. It was kind of an esteemed job, kind of a dangerous job, and a cupbearer, if you don't know, basically, they would taste the wine, which was good wine, which is pretty cool. All the food, all the fancy food that the king would eat to make sure it wasn't poisonous. So they would munch on it a little bit, and they would watch him. You living? You good? All right, now we can give it to the king. That was his job. He didn't have any formal training. He wasn't formally appointed to a position for what God's calling him to. He simply had a passion. And so people come to me all the time wanting me to help verify God's calling on their life. And I get why you do that, right? It seems like I have a better connection. I just know more. I just read the Bible more than you. I just know a lot. Not that have any clear of a connection. If you are a believer and you believe in Jesus and you've given your life to Christ, you have just as much as a connection as I do. But I can understand how you would feel that. And so sometimes people would want me to make sure that God's stamp of approval or the stamp of approval from the church is on their calling. And what I tell them is, God called you, not me, to whatever that is. And if somehow the church can help, great. Am I going to encourage you and give you advice? Absolutely. But it's not my calling, it's your calling. And so I encourage people to do that. And I say, if he called you, I would do it. I would go. Otherwise, stop asking. Because if you keep praying, God, your will be done in my life, and he tells you, and you don't like that idea, and you keep going, let's try again. Lord, whatever your will be done in my life, and he tells you the same thing. What he's going to do is he's going to turn up the heat on you. Just like any other relationship or human, right? If you come to me asking the same thing, and I tell you, and you don't listen, I'm going to turn up the heat on you. I'm going to talk louder, more aggressively. And I'm going to shake your head. And it's like, is something wrong with your ears? I already told you what to do. God's going to do the same thing to you. And so then just go. Do it. So again, last week we learned from Nehemiah, where does it all begin? How do we start to find our grit to do something great? It's not, you don't go to the bank and get a loan. You don't go to everybody and make sure it's a good idea first. What Nehemiah did and what he showed us is the first thing he did, and this might be tough for some of you big tough guys, but it's okay. he sat down and cried about it. There's nothing wrong with a good cry. Look, I'm not a crier. I get dehydrated when I cry because it's just not, I don't have large tear ducts for some reason. Sometimes it takes a lot to get me to cry, but it's possible. It happens. I just got to limit it because otherwise I'll just wither up like a raisin. But it's okay to sit down and cry. Just blubber about it. I'm not meaning like a tear. I mean, let it just affect you. The big cry, right? The big ugly cry. Let it out. Let that burden in. Feel for it. And that's what Nehemiah did. And so after he did that, after he got done crying, he knelt down to pray about it. If it's big enough to cry about, it's big enough to pray about. And so that's what he knelt down and prayed about it. And then once he felt like God gave him some good direction, he stood up and he acted on it. And so that's how you find your grit. Somebody has got to do something and nobody else is doing it, so it might as well be me. So when you get your grit, right, when you do that, how do you begin to make a difference? So if you felt that passion, if that's happened to you, if you did that this week, I challenged you last week to go blubber, right, and then pray about it and get ready to get up and act on it, right? So now what? What did Nehemiah do next? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So if you're taking notes, now's the time to start taking notes. So first thing we're going to talk about is when he went after that, when he started. First thing he did was to seek God faithfully. I mentioned it last week. We see 12 prayers. That's just the prayers that we see. 12 times we see evidence of Nehemiah bringing it back to God. Before he started doing, he seeks God. And in the timeline, he hears the news in the month of Kislev, which is like around November, December, and he starts praying. And then we find out he did that until the month of Nisan, not Nissan, Nissan, it's not a car company. That month, right, that's what they called it. About 4 months had passed. He had been praying and fasting on this idea, this passionate thing that he was feeling. So it wasn't over a day. It was over some time. He really wrestled with it and really prayed with God on it. And so next step was to act on it. And we talked a little bit last week about going before the king. It's impossible, I feel, to really define what that would feel like. I think now we look at leadership when we go and we talk to somebody, we're a little more civilized. Back then, it's not so civilized. Going before the king and saying, hey, I know that I've been like really close to you and I know a lot of your secrets, but will you let me go now? Will you let me go build up another town and city? That king would get real paranoid real quick. Yeah. But then also, bringing bad news to the king meant bad news for you. That's why it's always get confused when people want to be prophets. In this day and age, people are like, oh, I'm a prophet, right? I'm a prophet. No shame or whatever. And if God's called me to be a prophet, it's biblically, it's there. But it's not good news. People were never excited to see prophets. Because it was usually, God's got some news for you that you're not going to like because you're not listening. He sent me to tell you. Prophets were hunted. Prophets were chased out of town, right? Why do you think Jonah didn't want to go tell that town that all the bad things they were doing? God had to swallow him with a whale, whether you believe that or not. That's what we know, and that's what happened, right? And so, also, kings were insulated. They didn't get all the bad news, nor did they want all the bad news of their kingdom, because they can't fix everybody's problems, nor did they want to, because sometimes fixing the leadership's problems, right, fixing the people's problems means the leadership has to get uncomfortable, and kings didn't want to get uncomfortable. And so bringing uncomfortable news to the king, it's hard to do. But this is what happened for Nehemiah. Nehemiah 2, 1 through 4, it says, early the following spring, in the month of Nisan, during the 20th year of King Artaxerxes' reign, I was serving the king his wine. This is from Nehemiah's perspective. I had never before appeared sad in his presence. I would act always happy around the king too. So the king asked me, why are you looking so sad? You don't look sick to me. You must be deeply troubled. Then I was terrified, but I replied, long live the king! How can I not be sad? For the city where my ancestors are buried is in ruins, and the gates have been destroyed by fire. Then the king asked, well, which is not what he was expecting. Well, how can I help you? with prayer, with a prayer to God of heaven. So he asked him, how can I help you? The king actually said that to him, which means the king cared about him. They had a great relationship, which was good, but still a difficult thing to do. This isn't a person who was new to prayer either, right? Because a lot of us, you don't really pray much, but you know that instance when you're going to go talk to your boss about something, and you're walking to your boss's office, or you're called in, and you're like, Lord, whatever I did, I'm sorry, forgive me my sins, everything that I've ever done, that candy bar I stole when I was 12, and all that kind of, you're like, just please forgive me, and you walk into the office. Just take it away, whatever it is, But that was not Nehemiah. Nehemiah prayed a lot, long, deep prayers. And this was a short, quick prayer, right, before to make some abundance. And starting Village Heights, Hannah and I prayed a lot, because I argued with God. There's an instance that we were in the car and driving before we even said we were going to do this, and one of our friends, another ministry friend, another pastor, say, hey, drive through the heights and just pray. Just pray about it, right? And I'm driving through the heights and I'm arguing with God out loud while Hannah in the car, and she thinks I'm probably losing my mind. But I made a passionate prayer about making a difference. But we asked God first. We sought him first. Never would I have imagined the path that we are on today. We know it's God's and it's too big for us, and God is still working on it, because if it was up to me, it would have failed a long time ago, just by my own means. I mean, when it comes to prayer, there's nothing too big for God's power or anything that's too small for God's heart. And if prayer isn't necessary to accomplish your vision, it's not big enough. If you can do it with your own hands and you don't need God, do it. He's actually called you to do those things. He's giving you the skills and abilities to make a difference. But if it's something that's outside of you and too big, you bring it to God. And so what you're feeling right now, if it's not worth bringing to God, it's not big enough. It needs to scare you a little bit. You need some help from the God above. So first thing he did is what he sought God. So number one, seek God faithfully. Number two, you got to define the vision clearly. Most people, it's not a lack of caring about a problem. If I went up and said, do you care about them? They'll say, absolutely. Their problem is their lack of clarity when they go to communicate the problem and effectively approach whatever it is. And so the king asked Nehemiah, says, what can I do? This was Nehemiah's response. Nehemiah 2:5, it says, I replied, if it please the king, and if you are pleased with me, your servant, send me to Judah to rebuild the city where my ancestors are buried. Let's look at what Nehemiah didn't do. And no offense taken. First, he basically said, please send me to my city so I can rebuild it, right? This is what he didn't say. He didn't go, well, there's something I've been thinking about. My Aunt Martha from Jerusalem had 3 kids, and one of them sent me a link to an article about a missions trip that people are going on. And I'm kind of tired of pouring your wine all the time, and I've always wanted to travel. I sent some letters out asking people to give if they would participate, right? And I might just go if I can, and you kind of do that, and you're like, I don't know. What do you think? You think it's a good idea? Martha said, since I knew you, right, and you had some leadership and some power, that I should ask. But I don't know. What do you think? You think it's a good idea? If you came to me and you wanted Village Heights to do something for you, for whatever the mission is, and you came at me with that weak sauce, I'd be like, you don't seem confident in it. Why would I be confident in it, right? You better, I need some passion. I need some burning fire inside of you, right? That's what happened here. What would you think about that? That is not a clear burden or vision. That's not confident. And if you're not confident, I'm not going to be confident. So for most people, it's not a lack of caring. That's your problem. It's a lack of clarity. As a whole, what is our clarity as Village Heights? So right now, Village Heights, as you can see in this room, it's filling up. It's even worse on the other side of that wall with all these kids. Got a bunch of fertile myrtles in here, right? And that's great. I love it. I love kids. I love kids. I'm glad that y'all are multiplying. It's awesome. It's the best organic way to grow a church. I love it. But we need a bigger building, right? And so a clear vision. If anybody comes to me from the outset and say, hey, how can I help Village Heights? It's like, hey, we need a building. You got one? You got a building, right? We're not picky. We just need something, right? We have some requirements, and there's some, city requirements, ordinances, all that. There's some red tape for sure, but we need something. But that's a big one. That's the big thing. But right now, just in this moment, a little more attainable is action groups. If someone say, what can I do at Village Heights right now? It's like, well, you can help serve Village Heights by serving somebody else. Yeah. And whatever action group that is that we're doing. Right now, it's the Hits Theater. We're loving this place that has been so lovely to us. Has given us a home for so many years, and so we are giving back to them. We're going to treat them well. But what is it for you personally in your life? Is it to help children? Great. Which ones? All of them? There's a lot of them, and you're one person, okay? So let's get more specific, okay? Ones that don't have basic needs? Sure. Maybe ones that can't read. Maybe ones that don't have homes. Maybe ones that are abused. I'm not saying go vigilante, but if you decide that, I'll be with you. I like fun too. But where? Here in Houston, somewhere else, maybe in another country, maybe in your backyard. And what does it even mean to help? How can you help? Because sometimes we're like, man, I love that ministry and what they're doing, that charity, whatever they got going on, that one person community. You know what? I'm going to go buy something they didn't ask me for, and I'm going to give it to them because I want to help. Or I'm going to go rummage through my closet and find the things that I don't want, and I'm going to go give it to them. Or I'm going to go search through my pantry and find the dinner cans and give those to them. That's usually what happens. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody starts somewhere. But begin to ask yourself, like, what actually would help them? And how can I do that? Do they need medical attention? Do they need education? Is there felt needs? Do they need help finding homes? Because if you can't define it, you can't do it. If you can't define how to help somebody, you're not helpful. So you got to figure out what that is. So in a sentence, what is God leading you to do? For Nehemiah, he said, send me to Judah so I can rebuild the city. For you, it might be to lead your family to be more financially responsible this year. For some of you, it might be, hey, I want to personally invite or be an example to Jesus or who he's called me to be an example to at work, at home, wherever it may be. I'm going to make sure they see Jesus through me. Some of you, it's I'm going to learn or teach a trade to help with action groups or something else in my community, in the local schools, or the elderly couple down the road that they can't do it on their own, right? So I'm going to learn a trade or I'm going to teach a trade to help make that happen. Some of you, it might be to donate $1 million to Village Heights' new building. Anybody raise their hand? Oh, okay. All right. Just planting a seed, guys. And it doesn't have to be, it can be more than $1 million. I'm not saying that's the cap. I mean, it's just, some of you are like, oh, well, I'm meant to give more. We'll take as much as you'll give. But maybe it's even just as simple as, you know what? I'm going to start focusing less on my needs and more on the needs of the people around me. Often when I hear people complain about the most ridiculous things, little disputes with neighbors or something in their community, and it's like, why is that a problem, right? It's just life. In my head, I go, you ain't got enough problems. I'll introduce you to some. There's problems all around us that need to be met. So maybe it's just as simple as that, to think about others first. But the truth is, if you can't define it, you can't do it. So if your vision isn't clear, the people can't follow. So number 1, seek God faithfully. Number 2, define your vision clearly. And number 3, make plans. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Wishing's easy. We can all wish. But if you don't have a plan, that's all it is. And some of you are wishing and will never see that thing come true because you're not making a plan. Your vision needs a system, right? Our very existence depends on a system. We live in a solar system. And if that solar system didn't work within its system, we don't exist. So the passion that you have, the burning fire that's in your heart, just like Nehemiah, if you don't put a system to it, it's just a wish and it's never going to happen and it can't survive. You got to give it a plan. You got to give it a system. A design and plan is necessary for the miraculous. Nehemiah 2, we'll continue on, 6 through 8. It says, the king, with the queen sitting beside him, asked, how long will you be gone? When will you return? After I told him how long I would be gone, the king agreed to my request. And I'm sure he was like, whew, right? I also said to the king, so not only is like, okay, will you let me go? Here's more. This is where clarity comes in, having a plan, having a system. I also said to the king, if it please the king, let me have letters addressed to the governors of the province west of the Euphrates River, instructing them to let me travel safely through their territories on my way to Judah. And please give me a letter addressed to Asaph, the manager of the king's forest, instructing him to give me timber. I will need it to make beams for the gates of the temple's fortress, for the city walls, and for the house for myself. And the king granted these requests because the gracious hand of God was on me. He knew exactly what he needed. The first part of the plan, he knew he was going to be protection and he's going to need provision. And he knew that all those people in there weren't going to share. And they weren't going to be like seeing him travel through there. And says, hey, give me some letters. Show that. Let me flex a little bit in your name, right? Let me do that. A plan doesn't have to be perfect, but you got to have a plan. And when it comes to plans, just do the next right thing. Did Nehemiah know how to build a gate? Probably not. But he knew he'd need wood. And before he could even get there, he knew he'd need safe travel. So he knew the next right thing was safe travels and provision. He needed supplies. Success isn't accomplished, right, in the future. It's done by doing at least one right thing today. So be specific, and it doesn't always have to be huge. So if you're wanting to start a ministry or be a part of one, or if there's a ministry that excites you and you want to be involved in it, find out who's doing something. There's a lot of things in this city that I would like to address that I'm not equipped to handle. But there's a lot of ministries out there that are already doing it. So instead of me competing with them, we join them. We join in what they're doing. We help support them to get to the next level. That's the whole point of action groups. So if you're interested in something that's happening, schedule a meeting. Call the nonprofit. Call the charity. I guarantee you they want to talk to you. Have some patience, right? They don't have an administration, big staff or anything like that like at your company. They need some time, right? Maybe that's you. Maybe you're that person that makes those connections for them. But be diligent about it. Reach out to them. Schedule a meeting. Take a tour. Ask questions. Good questions like, how can I help? And what's your needs right now? And what's the future goal? Where you want to be? And tell them, don't pull punches. You're not going to scare me. Tell me what it is. Because you're not promising that you're going to fix everything. You're going to be able to do everything. But you can do something, and you're going to jump in where you can. And if you're like, I don't know anybody, we have a whole list of nonprofits that we can connect you to that are doing great, great things. So that's for ministry. If you just have an idea, raise funds for it. Find help. Write a plan. Spread the word, because sometimes issues, people just don't know about them. And if you're like, I want to support this nonprofit, the biggest Achilles heel of every nonprofit that is doing great things is they don't have a massive advertising team to let people know about what they're doing and how they exist. So be their advertising team, right? And people that are around you, that know you, that trust you, they'll take your word for it. And they'll get involved. So tell them about it. Even a simple, guys, you need a date? Take a shower. Get a haircut. Buy a shirt with a collar. Go to Target. There's girls looking for things they don't need at Target all the time. And you just might be the thing that they don't need at Target. And they'll take you home. Do the next right thing, whatever that is. Do the next right thing. 1, seek God faithfully. 2, define vision clearly. 3, make plans. And lastly, number 4, inspire people passionately. Let people see your passion. And if it scares them, that's on them. But let people see your passion. Next week, what we're going to talk about is going to be hard. And it was hard for Nehemiah. And this is where the passion is going to be crucial. So what's coming for Nehemiah is opposition, discouragement, distraction, fatigue. You're going to be asking yourself, just like I'm sure Nehemiah did, is it worth it? Is it worth all this trouble? Is it even possible? Even the Jewish nation that he was going to support discouraged him. It was like, why try? It's in rubble. We can't do this. We don't have enough. That's where Nehemiah reaches down and finds his grit again. Nehemiah 2:17 through 18, to give you a taste. It says, "But now I said to them, you know very well what trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire. Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end its disgrace." Then I told them about how the gracious hand of God has been on me and about my conversation with the king. And they replied at once, "Yes, let's rebuild the wall." So they began the good work. Inspire people around you. And they're like, what could we do? How could we ever? Well, inspire them and let them know God's with them. And God's with you. And God's already started. When I tell people about how we started Village Heights and all because sure, I could make a cool looking church. I know how to do that, right? I've done that. But when I show the provision and the favor, the doors that have been open, that are unexplainable, that it wasn't because of me, it was because of God, then they go, oh man, you're onto something. God really wants to be a part of it. And that excites people. And they want to be a part of whatever is happening because they know God is in it. So don't be afraid to do that. God is empowering you, empowering them to do something that matters, to make a difference. There's a famous metaphor quote that says, "Light yourself on fire with passion and people will come from miles to watch you burn." That is so true. So true. Light yourself on fire with passion and people will come from miles to watch you burn. 11 years ago, God called Hannah and I to start a church. And there was only 3 of us. Hannah and I and our firstborn. 2 of us were potty trained and 1 of us wasn't. So you can imagine the help that I had. But with fervent prayer and grit, being stubborn about it, knowing clearly that God has called us to do this, we got after it. Even after discouragement, even after hitting walls, even after, hey, we're starting a church, and people go, oh, good for you. All right, forget my name, and they walk away. Can I have your email? No. Can I have some money? No. It happened. I'm telling you, this is all truth. You can verify with Hannah. But there is a much larger group now that call Village Heights home. And there is not a day that goes by that I am just awe of what God does. Because, my personality helps, my character, Hannah's personality and character helps, the staff, beyond and all the great people that go here. But it is evident that God is doing something amazing here. Yes. And it is a privilege to be a part of it, and it's a privilege that you guys are willing to be a part of it with us. Yeah. And that's not lost on us. Some of us have never known Christ, and some of us were estranged from Christ, or maybe still. And some of you have found a bigger calling and passion because of the mission that God's called us to fulfill. Yeah. So in spite of my humanness, God wants this to happen more than us. And He keeps making a way. So, I dare you to find someone in your life that need this. They're searching for something. They're looking for something bigger. They want to be a part of something bigger. Well, we're doing something big. Invite them to come be a part. Surround them with you awesome people who have a passion for Christ, a passion to see something done in your community, around the world. And watch them change. Watch them be affected. Some people walk away, and that's okay. We're not going to be for everybody, right? And somebody wants to complain, they come in, well, I don't like a Village Heights to this. And I was like, well, there's another great bunch of churches out there for you to visit. And I invite them to other churches, right? I give them a whole list of churches they can go invite. But they can go visit. But join me. And then the cool thing is, if you come a part of this journey with us, you get a front row seat to get to see the things that I get to see. People's lives changed, powerfully changed. It says, what if what you cared about isn't an accident? What if God knew what he was doing when he made you? What if he knew what he was doing when you saw the thing that you saw and your heart began to beat faster for it? What if he knew? Explore what that is, because often the burden you bear reveals the difference you will make. God is calling you to something. And if you've sat down and blubbered about it, good. And you prayed about it, good. Now you're ready to act on it. Seek God faithfully, define the vision clearly, make plans, and then inspire everybody around you passionately. And you watch what happens. God's going to do something really cool through you, and I can't wait to see what it is. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for the passion that I can see in everybody here. Lord, I can feel it. There's things that they are seeing in the world and around them in their communities, and they want to make a difference about it. But Lord, it's hard to start. And so we learned from Nehemiah, like, where do we even begin? But now we need to define what that is. Get clarity on the plan, Lord. And I pray that you either help them find clarity in that, help them devise a plan, or send the right people into their life that are good at planning, that know how to do this stuff, that can help them make a plan, Lord, but help them to not be fearful in being passionate about whatever it is, being passionate about the calling that you put on their heart, that burden, that thing that burns inside of them. And Lord, I pray they begin to act, because if no one else is going to do it, it might as well be them. So bring the people around them. And Lord, bless Village Heights in our mission as we continue to do that. Lord, we're reaching out for future homes, and for our family, for our Village Heights family. We have clarity in that. But Lord, we know it's not just about us, Lord. We want to help others. And so, Lord, as we continue on in action groups and trying to bless other nonprofits and other people doing great things, help us to continue to devise those plans. I pray for provision. I pray for protection. I pray for favor in all that we do. And Lord, I can't wait to hear the cool things that begin to happen because we take it on and we get after it. Lord, bless these people as we go. Bless Village Heights and this family, and bless this building as we begin to rework it. In Jesus' powerful name I pray. Amen.